Hello and welcome to another Tune for Media lesson. This is part 4 in our Max series. And look at this. Isn't it just beautiful? I'm really happy of how this thing looks. It's intuitive and it just looks really cool. And make sure at the end of the lesson to download this patch for free. So today we're going to make some classic analog style toms. And if you look at the module here on the right, you may have noticed that some control are kind of global and the others, like pitch and pan, are individual. So today we're going to learn some important concept about sending global messages to control everything at once and to send individual parameters. Okay, let's start with a new patcher. Let's create our trigger, and we have 3 triggers. So these numbers are correspondent with the notes F, G, and A on my keyboard, and they're going to represent the first tom, the second tom, and the third one. Okay, so to make this classic analog style tom, we're going to start with the same technique that we did with our snare body or tone back in part 2. Okay, so we're going to start with our nice sine wave. If you remember, we're using this phaser trick to trigger the sine wave in phase. So putting phaser, need to put some number here, and we're triggering 0. So our trigger is sending 0 every time we play a note. So let's do something like that. Let's put a bang. Okay, we are rolling. And now we need some kind of a pitch envelope. And we are making a lot of pitch envelopes, but this pitch envelope is a little more complex. So we're going to invite our nice friend function in a curve mode. Let's just change the size of it so we can see. Okay, so we're going to do something very interesting with this pitch envelope, and it's probably going to be the most complex pitch envelope that we did so far. So we're going to have a few points. Have 0 point is going to be 0, 0. Point number 1 is going to be somewhere on x0, and y is going to be dynamic. And then we have another point that is going to be in a fixed x position, and I think it's going to be like around, let's say 15, maybe 10. And then we have another point, and this is going to be our kind of pitch drop. So these are the things we want to control in this envelope. Remember, this is a pitch envelope, not amp envelope. So we're controlling the pitch here. So this is kind of our snap. We have this like very, very high pitched tone that drop really, really fast. And we're going to create a curve here, a negative curve. And then this is going to be fixed in X, but the Y is going to be our target frequency. And this one is simply going to be the decay of the pitch drop and also the amount. So let's start adding some messages. And we can also go ahead and go to the inspector and uncheck allows adding points by clicking. So this will make sure that we're not accidentally adding more points when we click here. Okay, so we're going to send some messages. So this is point number 1 because this is 0, right? So 0, 1, and we want point number 1 to move through Y position but stay on X0. Okay, so $1 on Y, and we don't need any curve here, so we're just going to leave it blank like that. Okay. Second message is the height of this point, and we want to fix it in X. Let's do 10. Right? Let's do like a really fast drop. Let's copy that. So point number 2 is going to stay on X10 and going to change in Y as well. And later we're going to do something cool about this point. We kind of want to do this in relation to this. So when we copy this patch and make more than one patch, we can control this snap area in relation to each tuning of each tom, if it makes sense. I'm sorry if you got confused a little bit. I promise you we're going to go through all of it and hopefully you'll understand everything. We also want to take the last point, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, right? Point number 3. And we want to move it in all directions. So we want to move it in X, which will be our decay, and in Y, which will be our amount of pitch drop, of course. And let's create some curves. So in point number 1, we don't need any curve, but in point number 2, we do want to go in a curve. And in a negative one, let's do a pretty fast one, like minus 0.7. And in point 3, which is the last one, I'm going to create a positive curve like that. Now we need to send some numbers. So the first number is the easiest one, and it will be the pitch. And we just hook it like that. So if I'm playing with a pitch, you can see that it moves like that. Okay, now this number, I want this number to relate to this number in multiplication. So I'm just going to put multiply with the argument of 0 point, which makes it accept float numbers, and hook it like that. And let's create another box. This is going to be our amount of snap. And we're going to also trigger a bang for the pitch here because we want it to always change. So now if you have a number, there we go, we have some kind of multiplication. So this is basically 1 octave higher, and this is a 5th higher, and this is another octave, this is a 3rd. If you're familiar with the harmonic series, this is why I'm saying all these intervals. Okay, and this is going to be our snap. So this is create some kind of a snap sound because it's just a really fast drop from a really high frequency relative to the other frequency. Okay, so the third message is expecting 2 numbers or a list. We have to give it the coordinates of X and Y. So we're going to use pack without the C, have 2 numbers, and let's just send this like that. Okay, so the first number is X, which is our decay. So let's create a number box. And let's say that this is our decay. You know what? Let's call it time because we're going to have decay for the amp envelope later on. Okay, so this one is going to the first inlet because we have to send X in our first inlet. And as a matter of fact, this is the left inlet, not the first. Max is reading information from right to left, so the first inlet is technically this right. Okay, and we're going to do the amount of drop, and this one is going to be from 0 to 1. Why would I use 0 to 1? Because this is amount of pitch drop. It's going to be a multiplication of the pitch, so it's kind of going to be in relation to the pitch. And we can do something fancy and invert the scale. So it's going to be cool later on if you put a dial on this. So the more amount we're putting in, the multiplication will be with a lower number. So scale, and we want to go from 0 point to 1 point. The point is important because it creates a float. And invert it from 1 to 0. Exponential of 1. Do this. And all that's left to do is to multiply. Let's do this. Put it here. And of course, we need to multiply it by our pitch. And we can do the same here with triggering the bang. So it will change. It will always change. And as usual, I'm making this mistake of $1 instead of $1. I don't know why I keep making this mistake. So amount, pretty cool. And time. I'm going to change the representation here to maybe a bigger number. Maybe the highest number I want to go with my pitch will be 200. So let's do from 0 to 200. And by the way, if you change the size of the y-axis here, it doesn't mean that it restricting the number to go above what you see in this window. So you can easily go above what you see in this window. Okay, so it just representing visually the function that we want to send. Let's create a curve and let's send it. Let's take this curve and bring it to the phaser. Also, I have to connect the trigger to this function. Getting a little bit crowded here. Let's put a gain. Let's put this and 1, 2, and connect our cycle. And let's see if we have a pitch envelope. And we do. So we can choose a pitch, we can choose the snap, and we can change the time and the amount. Okay, so let's move on to the amp envelope. I'm going to select all of this and encapsulate it so it would just be nicer to look at. And we're going to call it pitch and let's select all of it. So next is the amp envelope, which is a very easy one. We're just going to create a curve with a message to go from 1 to 0 in some time that we're choosing. And let's create a -65 curve. And let's put this curve here. Send this message. Let's create another float and call it decay. Let's create another message. So we won't trigger the curve every time. And we put it here. And this message will be hooked up to our trigger. And we did that already. We multiplying our signal with this curve. And this is exactly what we do when we want to create an amp envelope. Let's see if we do have it. Some volume. Let's bring the amount a little bit downward. After you put in a sub patch something, you have to move the numbers to update. Awesome. So we can add another nice touch, and it's just to add to the snap a little bit of noise, and very short noise. So let's create a line object with a tilde from 1 to 0 in time. Oh, sorry, no, it's going to be fixed in like 10 milliseconds. I think it's, sounds all right. Multiplying this line and the noise together. Send this to the trigger. Now, I think it will be too much. First of all, we can multiply this. Let's put a 0 here with the snap. So how cool is that? We can create the snap that is kind of a combination of the noise and this pitch envelope. And because this snap can go to a very big number, let's just multiply it by half. No, let's multiply it by 0.4. And it's still going to produce very tight sounding noise. So I'm going to use also resin 100, and we're just going to explore the sound of our snap. Get like some kind of a woody snap sound. That's pretty nice. So I'm just going to keep these numbers, and I can add it to the master volume here. And that's it. This is one instance of our sound. So we can take this entire thing and encapsulate all of it and call it Tom, maybe Tom 1. And then we're going to do something like that. The only parameter that I want for now to be individual is the pitch. So I'm going to bring the pitch to a different location. And this is going to be pitch 1, pitch 2, and 3. And we're going to copy 2 instances of this entire patch, sub patch. And we're going to hook up pitch. And this is the second inlet. And we're going to hook up our global control. So I want these 4 numbers to globally control the entire module. Each individual tom has its own individual pitch but a global control. So now I'm going to do something interesting. I'm going to create some kind of a small mixer. So we're going to use the MC capabilities of Max 8. So we're going to do MC pack. And I'm going to pack 3 signals together. So pack 3. So you do 1, 2, and 3. Great. And I'm going to send it to MC stereo. So this will sum up my stereo signal. And these are 3 channels. And I want to control the pen. So 1, 2, 3. And we can make them from 0 to 1, because pen is 0 is left panning and 1 is right. And we need another MC pack to pack all of these numbers together and send them to my panning. Lastly, we can make an MC gain. So we have a master volume for all of them. And let's send it here. And there you have it. This is our cool patch for analog style toms. And next step for you is to start adding some dials and sliders to make it look cool. All right, I hope you learned something from this lesson. Thank you for watching. And if you like this video, please subscribe for more. And see you next time. Stay tuned.